So a question I get a lot is, what are your thoughts to canned hunts? Normally when this question is posed, there's some sort of level of misunderstanding with this idea of what a canned hunt is. So you probably need to get them to frame up, the person asking the question, what they believe a canned hunt is. For the majority, this is probably their belief and their stance. That someone walks into an enclosure, that an animal has been placed in, that has been bottle fed, that has been essentially tamed, and the person walks up to it and shoots it. So what do you think? So let me break down canned hunting from my perspective. The foundational angst, dislike, hate of canned hunting all comes down essentially to one foundational pillar, which is the idea of fair chase, that it quote unquote makes killing the animal easier. I've seen a hunt in a 200-acre enclosure in which the person walked in, took a seat, the animal walked out, 30 minutes later, they shot it, hunt was over. Essentially an easy hunt. I've also seen in a 200,000-acre enclosure, yes, it was also high fenced, the hunter walk in, sit down, 30 minutes later the animal walks out, and he shoots it. Hunt over. Hunt was easy. Why did we make the connotation that a 200-acre enclosure versus a 200,000-acre enclosure is quote-unquote easier? You have decided somewhere in your brain a fixed number that makes quote-unquote an animal's ability to escape fair or not fair. Some of you it's 500 acres, some of you it's 5,000 acres, some of you it's 50,000 acres. Have you stopped and asked yourself the question why you came up with the number you came up with? What makes it quote-unquote easy / fair / not a canned hunt? To me, all these numbers are arbitrary. Why 20,000 acres? Why not 18,000 acres? Why not 19,000 acres? My point is this. Nobody can back up the numbers. But Robbie, what about the home range of an animal? What if the enclosure is smaller than the home range of the animal? The home range of an animal depends on the resources available. Home range depends on food, shelter, water, and the availability of partners for reproduction. That home range varies by species and by the location that species lives in. All of the numbers at the end of the day are essentially indefensible. And really, at the end of the day, it all comes down to personal opinion and preference. Remember, animals get captured from small enclosures all the time and get transported and released into bigger ones. So is there a defined size of enclosure from which it needs to go to? So from 20 acres to 200 acres? I think a lot of people will say that those numbers are too small. What if it went from 2,000 acres to 20,000 acres or 200,000 acres? Does that make that then not a canned hunt? Why did we answer differently to those two different scenarios? I think it all comes down to the fact that we as humans believe that a smaller confined area means that hunting is easier, which means it's less fair on the animal. Smaller areas also insinuates that things are less wild. Is that definitively true? Do we have science that backs that up? The answer is no. However, social sciences and the values and perceptions around smaller confined areas will tell you that it's easier, not appropriate, and canned. Remember, the social science is not based on data, but rather social opinion based on a thought construct that smaller means easier, which means less fair, which means that's not really hunting. That's the crux. I'll say it again. That smaller means easier, that means less fair, that means it's not hunting. My opinion, it all boils down to someone's opinion and someone's preference. What's right, who's right, comes down to who can shout the loudest. So the next time you're questioned about canned hunting, so next time you see someone ask the question about canned hunting, don't be afraid to challenge their foundational understanding to why. Why do they believe what they believe? You may be surprised to what unfolds.